back. I'm going to do the bake part of the Jim Sands video. Jim Sands is a farm that I went to. A friend of mine, Jim, owns this farm. And I went there the other night to take pictures of the full moon. I kind of cut short because clouds moved in, so I only had a few minutes to take pictures. But if you didn't see the take part of the full moon video, I'm going to try to link it right up here. And last time I tried this, I pointed to the wrong side, so hopefully I pointed to the right side. I'm going to link it over there and you can go back and watch that. I've got a couple photos in Lightroom. I'm going to do some things in Lightroom and then I'm going to take it over into Photoshop. And we're doing the bake, the edit part, and I've got 2 images here. Actually, I've got 3 images here, but it's going to end up being 2. Actually, I've got 4 images here, but we're going to use all 4 of these images to make 2 images. So I've got this, let me brighten it up so you can see what I'm looking at. This barn with the bluff in the background. And I've got another one. And you'd say, well, why do you have 2? Well, let me zoom in. This I focused on the foreground. And let me brighten this one up also. And this one I focused in the background. Okay. Foreground, background. So I've got 2 images I'm going to focus stack here. And then the next image, let me zoom back out, is the hillside. And there's color in the trees here. And then I shot one of the moon as it was coming up without moving the camera. So they're 2 different exposures. Let me go back to this one. We're going to do this photo first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make adjustments. Now, I have everything reset. This is exactly how it comes out of the camera. And you go, Mike, it's too dark. But I exposed to the right, ETTR. And if you watch the video, I'll explain more how I do it in the field. But the first thing I'm going to do is I have a preset. Think of a preset as things that you do to every photo. You sharpen, you might open the shadows, close the highlights, those things that you do all the time. That would be a good time to make a preset. I have a preset over here called normal development. Now watch when I roll over it. See how it changes? Those are the things that I do to every photo. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to add it. Move things back and forth until I get it to look like I want it to. So I'm going to brighten the whole image. Something like that. I'm going to use, in the color section, I'm going to use auto. I always start there. Okay, it added a little magenta. So I'm going to take out some magenta. I'm going to go back to my blues. Okay. I'm going to open up the shadows a little more. Brighten up the whole scene a little more. I'm not worried about the sky. And then maybe highlights down a little bit. Looks like my bluff is losing some detail. So let me, take down the exposure a little bit. Zoom back out. Okay, so now I'm going to do, that was global adjustments where when I moved things, I covered the whole photo. It adjusted everything in the photo. So now what I'm going to do is use the selection area. And this is new. It's just a new update to Lightroom. I'm going to hit sky. It's going to select the sky. Anything in green selected. And anything in green, when I move a slider, that's what's going to be affected. So I'm going to take down the exposure, take down the highlights, dehaze a little bit, and I'm going to warm up the sky a little bit, add a little yellow to it, maybe a little magenta. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little saturation, and I like to take some noise out of the sky. Even though I shot this image at ISO 64, I still think it adds some noise. Okay, now let me zoom in here and get to the sky area. And it doesn't look too bad in this picture, but it looks a little artificial. The edges are too, too close, it just doesn't look right. So what I do now is I go back to that mask and I hold down my Option key on a Mac and I click on the mask first. Whoop, I don't want to rename it. Click on the mask. And if I see how when I hold down my Option key, I get intersect. I'm going to click on that, and I want to intersect this mask with the linear graduate. And I'm going to do, just pull down. Okay, now let's see. Turn it off. See how it lightens it at the horizon a little bit, like you're, especially back here in this corner. Let's see if I can zoom in to that corner over here. Okay, right there. If I turn the graduate, see how it gets too dark too fast? You even see a little bleed over. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out. Now, I don't like, and let me get a little more realistic. I don't like that this side of the composition in the sky is real dark and this side is not. So I'm going to add another filter. I'm going to use a linear graduate and I'm going to pull it over. Now the only problem I have, and I'm going to show you, is if I darken it, it even darks the foreground right down here. See how that's not what I want. So let me show you how I fix that. So there's my mask, and I'm going to intersect that mask with another. No, I'm going to use color range, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click the sky, and look, instantly it took away all that foreground. So now it's saying just use this area that's green right here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add blue. I'm going to darken it, and then I'm going to add a little dehaze. And look, the fall off is too quick, so what I'm going to do is pull this out even more and pull it back a little more. The wider these are, the more gradual the change is. I think I've added too much blue though, and maybe a hair too dark. Okay, let's look at just that. If I turn that filter off, can you see? Lighter, darker. It still had a slight effect on my foreground, but I don't mind it. Okay, so the barn's a little dark still, so what I'm going to do is select subject. Now you can see it pulled in some of the sky here, so I'm going to click on the three little dots here, and I'm going to use subtract, and I'm going to use a brush to subtract from that mask because it pulled in some of that hillside back there. And this would be a good time to turn off auto mask. If it pulls into the barn a little bit, it'll look natural right there beside the, okay, something like that. Now I'm going to brighten up the barn a little bit. It still looks like a little magenta in it. I'm going to warm it up, and let me open up the shadows just a little more. Whoop, too quick. Good. Now I'm going to do another mask, and this time a linear graduate. I'm going to pull it in right there, and I'm going to darken the foreground a little bit. Now I'm going to add another mask, and I'm going to do a radial graduate, and I'm going to pull it in like that. I like my two main subject, the bluff and the barn with the silos. I'm going to brighten that up a little more. And now I love this tool. You go in here and you duplicate and invert mask. And I like to pull this mask out just a little further than my last one. And I'm going to take down my exposure. Now, this corner went a little dark, so I have to find that mask again. That was this mask here. And I'm going to take and open up shadows a little bit and open up that area just a little so it looks more natural, more like that. Okay, so let's look at where we've come from. So let me do a backslash keystroke. That's before, after, before, after. Boy, we've come a long way. Now, I think it's a little bright on the bluff, so I'm going to take it down just a little bit. You know what? I'm going to use another filter or another selection. I'm going to use another radial. I'm going to put around this bluff. Now, wherever the green is, that's where the effect's going to be. Take down the exposure a little bit, and take down the highlights a little bit. Maybe add a little blue. Okay, so I've made all those adjustments. Now I need to adjust this one the same way. I just click on it and I go to previous. So wherever I was, it's going to add it to this composition. And I'm just going to have to wait about 4 seconds. There's a lot of mask in here, so it's going to take a little bit. And it's making the adjustments. There we go. So now we have this one and this one. I'm going to click on both. And I'm going to right click, edit in, and I'm going to open them up as layers in Photoshop. So while it's doing that, I was telling you the clouds moved in, so I didn't get a long enough time to move my composition. So I need to go back next month when we have another full moon. And I told you on the first video, the take video, I used photo pills. Okay, so Photoshop brought in those two different photos. And you can see they're two different photos. When I shut off the eyeball, the clouds are moving. So what I do is I select both, go over into Edit, go into Auto Align, because even though I had the camera on a tripod, there's something called focus breathing where it moves a little bit. Okay, it's done. It aligned the images. Now I'm going to go to Edit again, and this time Auto Blend Layers. And what this does is select the sharpest part of each image and builds a mask. And you'll see the mask. There they are right there. So we've got mask over mask there. And then I'm going to flatten the image. Then I'm going to save this. This is why I like working with Lightroom and Photoshop. They interact with each other. So now let's go back to Lightroom. And there's our new image. How do I know? Watch the name down here. Photoshop Document and Digital Negative. So I know that this is the one that just came out of Photoshop. Just to make it neat, I'll click on this one, and then I'm going to right click, group into a stack. So then I have this image here, and it's sharp from edge to edge. You could still refine this. Like one thing that I see that I'd like to fix, let me zoom in, this stick's sticking out. Now we have a new tool here, the erase tool, and all I have to do is draw around this branch, let go, and boom, it takes it out. Just to demonstrate, let's see if there's something else I can take out. Let's say you don't like this little cedar tree right here, so I'm going to draw around the cedar tree, and it did a pretty good job, except it added an extra post right there. There we go. Okay, I brought these two images in, but after playing with them, I'm just going to use this image here. So let me do my normal development on it, and I'm going to open up the shadows, and then I'm going to play with the exposure. I'm not worried about the sky. I want to get the foreground about like that, and that looks maybe a little more. Okay, then I want to saturate just this area. So what I'm going to do is use a brush, a bigger brush, and I'm going to go saturation, and let's add a little lightness to it, kind of like the moon is shining on this area, something like that. Okay, then I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to go select sky. Okay, it selected the sky. So now I want to darken it a little bit. Maybe I want to watch that moon there. I don't want it to get too dark. And color, I'm not liking the add some blue. No, kind of looks a little purple or something. Actually, I'm going to take some color out of the sky. Yeah, more like that. And now I'm going to use another filter. First, I'm going to make it look more natural by pulling a filter down. Whoop, I did that wrong. Z. This is my sky, so I'm going to intersect this with a linear graduate, and I'm going to pull it down from the sky. There we go. And now I'm going to make another linear graduate, but I want to darken the sky on top a little bit. Let me close this. So I'm going to pull the darken one, and I got it lighter. That's all right, don't worry about it. Can't make mistakes in Lightroom. It's non-destructive editing. Okay, overall, the image looks a little magenta to me. So I'm going to add some more greens. And now I don't like the foreground. That's just too much right here. So I'm going to crop it. Move it over. Maybe crop it a little more. Yeah. And my moon's almost in the third. Okay, now let's zoom in. Looks like there's a little noise in the sky. So let's go back to our filters. Select the sky. Go down to noise. And let's slide it to the right, something like that. You may not be able to see that on the computer screen. So zoom back out. Let's do it before and after. Before, after, before, after. Okay, main subject. Let me do another radial filter. I'm going to pull it right across here. And then I'm going to invert this. I can click it right here to invert it. And I'm going to darken it at the outside edge. Maybe even more. There we go. Now before and after. And that's just one exposure. And I am shooting the Nikon D850, and it has a lot of latitude. I can get away, and I'm shooting in RAW. At first I was going to use both images, but I had enough latitude in this photo that I could pull in both the highlights and the shadows. So that's how I would post-process those images. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. If you like seeing how I edit. If you don't like seeing how I edit, let me know. Or if you have a different way to edit. But I'm going to continue to do the bake like this. So come back next week and I'll have another video for you. Thanks for watching. Bye.